This is the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com, hosted by Jerry and Mark, your one-stop shop for all horrible movie reviews. From the latest blockbusters and independent films to classics, let Mark and Jerry convince you the world is a dangerous place, though often good for a laugh. Now come and listen to the Horror Movie Show, if you dare.
Well, hello there, folks. Jerry here.
And Mark.
Bringing you another episode of the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com, also on The Crypt and iTunes, and Lord knows where else we are, but we're everywhere.
Yeah. We are.
Okay. Somebody told me we were. We got a bunch of new movies to talk about today, and our favorite TV series, The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's my favorite TV series. Is it yours, Mark?
Well, I have a lot of favorite series, but it's one of them.
You can't, but no. You have a lot of series you like, but which is your favorite?
I can't say, because I just like so many things.
It's probably one of those CSI shows, isn't it?
No, I don't watch any of those shows.
Yeah, you love those CSI shows.
I wouldn't mind watching them, but I just don't have time. There's too many of them. Yeah, it's like you'd have to watch one every hour.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I don't watch those. Amazing Trixie likes those shows. But
I have nothing against them. I for light entertainment, I like your Castles, your Elementary, or, you know.
Yeah.
But they're always murder mystery kind of things.
Well, what gets me is Trixie she's much of a fan of horror, but every one of those CSI shows, or Law and Order, the beginning of it has got a murder that's more gruesome than most of the horror
Bones,
movies.
I watch Bones, and it has always the most gruesome
it's
things
horrible.
in it. It's horrible. Like decaying bodies all over the place. And I love it.
I guess the difference is that none of the bodies ever actually get up and start killing.
I'm trying to think.
No, real dead. If they're real dead bodies, those shows are pretty far from Supernatural. Unless you're watching Supernatural.
Which I don't watch.
No, I don't watch that either. No, it's true. I mean, I watch the comedy shows on weeknights, Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert, and I try to always catch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But, yeah, I'm watching movies all the time. I haven't got time to watch network TV.
Yeah, I can't say that. I mean, I watch a lot of network TV, but, you know, not live.
You sort of time shift it.
Yeah, I time shift it and get rid of the commercials.
Right.
And it makes it a lot nicer.
Yeah. Well, luckily we don't have any advertising, so, people don't have to.
Well, I was looking at an old Perry Mason, and their shows
That's redundant.
Yeah. Well, I guess they could make new ones. They did make newer ones in the I don't know when.
Monty Markham. Yeah, I remember those.
Anyway, they run around 51 minutes,
Right.
So that's what?
6 minutes longer than usual today.
Yeah. And they used to have like 2 commercial breaks of a couple minutes each.
Well,
I can handle that.
There would be an intro, a commercial break, and then you might get 20 minutes and then a commercial break. But there would be 4, maybe 5. Now there's about 7.
When you look at it, they're getting down to 21 minutes of show per half hour.
Yeah.
That's almost a 2-to-1 ratio. Which means for every 2 minutes of show, you get 1 minute of commercial. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, that's too much. And the fact that they actually show commercials on your screen as well.
Yeah.
So that's even more commercials.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm just getting sick and tired of it.
Yeah.
I am just getting
Depending
sick
on the show, they have like judges on American Idol holding up Coke glasses.
The
whole time.
Oh yeah, product placement everywhere. I saw an interview with a company that actually is doing product placement in advertisements in the background on TVs, TV shows.
Right.
And they actually have just green screens. They just have green screens there.
Fill it in
and then
later.
if they want to, when they're repeating the show, if they want to change the advertisement, they can do it.
Yeah.
And people will pay for that.
What was the Stallone movie? Demolition Man.
Yeah.
And when they re-released that, they changed, or the European version had different product placement than the North American version.
That's right.
North American was Taco Bell. That's not popular in Europe, so they had another company.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell it was, Burger King or something.
Yeah, I think it was Burger King or something like that.
Well, we could talk about advertising for seconds at a time, but let's get on to The Walking Dead. Second half of Season 4 has recently begun. We've had a chance to see episodes 9 and 10. I'm quite happy with the way things are going. At the end of the first half of the season, episode 8, the governor had managed to chase our gang out of the prison, and in fact, because of him and his tank, make the prison uninhabitable anyway for humans. The walkers had moved in fully. And Rick and gang had completely scattered. Seems as if they didn't even have a plan beyond having a school bus ready to go. Yeah. They didn't even have like a spot to meet.
No.
Which seems really dumb.
It does.
for a bunch of planners, you'd think Herschel would have said,
worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going, come on, that's the first thing you think of when you're setting up house.
Yeah. Plus, caches of food, caches of weapons.
Sure.
Just prepare yourself. Cocky as hell they were, thinking that they got this prison. I mean, the governor already threatened them once.
Yep.
Did they really not think? And this, of course, is a big part of why young Carl was so angry with his father, Rick, in the first new episode.
Right.
Episode 9. Because he was supposed to be running the show.
And he let them down. He got some of them killed, including he
Herschel.
Kept saying you wanted to be a farmer. You wanted, well, what? Farmer's not going to keep you safe,
No, it isn't. But on the other hand, Rick was looking to the far future. Plus, he just had a mental breakdown.
Yeah. Well,
so it was therapy for him in a lot of ways, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we don't blame Rick too much. There was a lot of people that could have taken the leadership role for at least a while.
Yeah. And they were. We know Daryl stepped up to the plate.
But he didn't think of, you would think that he would think of a backup plan in case something happens.
Well, exactly.
And
exactly. There should have been.
He seems to, at least in episode 10,
Herschel?
Daryl. He's quieter. He's kind of like, I don't know what's in his head when he was that little bit with him and that girl traveling together. Herschel's daughter, Beth.
He's extremely upset and sad.
Yeah, and
all plans have been thrown away.
Again, no plans made, so no plans to throw away, really.
No, but their plan was
to stay there forever.
And grow food.
Yeah, right.
Well, that didn't work. Now, I want to applaud myself for calling correctly that Michonne would put Herschel's severed head out of its misery. I said it before. I knew that would happen. I knew that somebody would do it. They couldn't leave Herschel's head lying around yammering to itself forever.
It would have been an interesting conversation.
Yeah, really. So she went around and
that looked like it was all CGI'd, though, the whole head.
Oh, in fact, the head was brought out onto the coffee table in the follow-up show Talking Dead. It was covered in a towel or a blanket, and the dude from the show, Greg Nicotero, uncovered it, and it was mouthing and clouded eyes rolling and stuff. It was pretty gruesome looking.
I wonder if the actor gets to have some sort of pay for using his head likeness.
Yeah. Well, poor old Herschel is out of the picture. He's not getting any more checks, I imagine. Scott Wilson, he did such a good job. Now they don't have an elder statesman. They've killed Dale at the end of the second season. Now they've killed Herschel halfway through the fourth season.
I'm sure we're going to meet some more people.
Maybe they'll find an old woman this time.
Why not? And there are some old women hanging around.
The idea that the group is a microcosm of society, and so there should be elder people as well as young people. And I also knew that baby Judith was going to be fine. Well, not fine, but I knew she'd survive. I figured it was the little kids that rescued her. Mm-hmm. And the car seat, that's just too heavy for little kids to lug around.
Yeah, but why was it all so bloody? Wasn't it all bloody?
It might have been bloody from before. Hey, these people are not exactly showering on a daily basis.
Oh, come on. I wouldn't put a kid into a bloody car seat.
Well, the little girls were running around with guns, blowing people away, and not just zombies either. They were killing invading human beings, so there's going to be a lot of blood around. So, after they've finished stabbing some human in the eye 50 times, That one little girl is getting a little spooky there. And in episode number 10, she puts her hand over baby Judith's mouth to keep her quiet.
Yeah.
And she seems to be sort of fascinated with the idea of how easily she could murder the baby.
But then it would become a zombie.
It would, yeah.
Baby zombie.
Baby zombie. Well, you know, maybe they're quieter. She also, it seems that she hacked several baby rabbits to pieces with her knife.
Yeah, I kind of like inferred that she slit their throats or something.
Or chopped them. They appeared to be chopped into pieces. So
Yeah.
she took her Bowie knife and just sort of hacked and slashed at them quietly. And nobody else really noticing. But because so many people seem to be following the same path away from the prison,
Right.
we keep seeing these same scenes over and over. We see the slaughter that the big guy, what's his name? The big fellow and the two little girls and baby Judith that they are involved in. And oh boy. Anyway, I liked the first two episodes. I wondered because the first one concentrated entirely on Rick and Carl and Michonne.
Yeah.
I wondered if we were going to get like another half dozen episodes where it was just a couple of characters and getting more of their backstory.
No, I think that would just be too slow.
Yeah.
You got to move the whole storyline.
Yeah.
Whereas this, the 10th show was a bunch of little vignettes of different groups of scattered people.
Right.
And that was fine.
Yeah.
And that was fine. What I would like to have seen is maybe a couple of those guys meet up or something like that. But they do cross each other's paths. You see.
Definitely, they starting to get an idea of how many survived.
And what's with the grapes? Everyone seems to be gorging themselves on these grapes.
I guess it's just the part of the country they're in. Why not eat grapes, if they're there? Great.
They seem to be the same bush, though.
Well, that's it. Again, as I say, they're walking past the same areas.
Yeah.
So everybody's grabbing some of these grapes when they go by. And the baby is crying and crying and crying. Well, what do you think the reason is that the baby is crying? Could she be hungry?
Some babies are teething as well.
Yeah, that baby's got lots of teeth, I noticed.
So,
Good
I mean,
zombie
if the baby's teething, then you really can't stop them.
Yeah, but there's no food. You got a big black man and you got two little girls, and there is no food. I mean, squeeze out some juice from those grapes for the baby. That's the only food I can think. Other than chewing up worms and spitting them into Judith's mouth, I can't really think what they can feed that kid.
They had a bottle.
Yeah, and formula and stuff.
But Michonne sure seemed relieved to see Rick and Carl. Boy, she's
been having a hard time.
She was having a hard time dealing with it. And I think at one point,
up with her.
That whole episode, she was traveling with the zombie horde.
Yes.
And I was kind of wondering if she was going to discover something new about the zombies, but nothing really new manifested itself. It was just her realizing that, no, she can't just go off with the zombies.
She can't do what she used to do.
Yeah.
Before she met
and I think she's realized that she needs people now.
Yeah.
So, obviously, that's why the relief on her face when she saw Rick.
Right.
And Carl, so...
Excuse me, I said Carol, I meant Andrea. Yeah, she had been living that way with her brother and her lover, as he was called in the episode. Yeah, so sure enough, just like in the comic book, that was her brother and her husband or boyfriend, her first zombie slaves.
Right.
Or pets, I think they're referred to. Yeah. So what do you think of the return of Carol?
Well, again... You hear the zombies in the bush, and then it cuts away, and la-di-da, she's there.
There she is.
She's saved the kids.
Yep.
And it's nice. She's a powerful girl.
She is.
And, strong-willed, and not confessing what happened with Rick to the group.
Well, see, that, I'm sorry, I don't have his name written down here, but big black guy. She hurt him more than any of the others, because he was just getting to know that gal, that Carol stabbed and burned.
Right.
Possibly alive. And Carol may have been doing it with best intentions, although that's debatable. She did seem to jump the gun a bit. In any case, he could very well want to murder her for doing that. So she seems quite trepidatious when they first meet, because she doesn't know whether he knows.
Right.
If he knows, she's liable to just get a bullet in the head immediately. If he doesn't know, she's not going to clue him in But if she follows him back to wherever the group is, will she be welcome, or will she then have to deal with her consequences? And it isn't just Rick who knows what Carol did. He told Maggie that what she'd done. And
Maggie said he did the right thing.
Yeah, and also Daryl. Daryl knows.
Right.
So it isn't a big secret. It's just a secret from the black guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's only a secret from him because when Daryl and Rick went to tell him, that's when the tank pulled up and all hell broke loose.
That's right. That's right.
And we never did find out what that sort of weird, ugly, bloody little rat painting was down in the basement, down in one of the cells in the prison. Mm-hmm. And the big guy was saying, you guys have got to see this. This has got to be the same psycho who's feeding rats and killed our two friends and burned their bodies. So he's dead wrong on a lot of that. But who is the psycho? And you know what I'm thinking? Lizzie. It's the little girl.
Could be.
Because she's pretty disturbed. She's reacted. They're making a whole little world of psychopaths. This is not a healthy situation for kids. And if they're the future, then, it's not going to be much of a world because they're making children they're turning these children into monsters. Their reactions may be appropriate to this insane world, but they're not what you or I could relate to.
Yeah. And what's ever going to be normal for them. They won't know what normal is.
There is no normal.
Their normal is really odd.
Really screwed up.
Yeah. What about prison?
Glenn woke up
there and basically had to work his way through the prison.
Yeah.
He's looking for Maggie, and he comes across one of the girls the
younger sister who claimed to be such a gun expert, and she just crawled inside of herself, hiding in plain sight from the zombies, but she was going to let herself starve to death
or get eaten. Yeah, she was very disappointed in herself, believing the governor and what he did. She realizes that they were the bad people.
Right.
Glenn talks her into helping him because he needs her.
Yeah. I don't think he needed her, but he wanted to motivate her and get her going. And Glenn, the only person I've seen him hold a grudge against, other than the governor, of course, is Merle. And
right.
The reason he hates Merle is because Merle put Maggie into the position where the governor could threaten her with rape, torture.
Yeah.
So Glenn's a pretty even-headed, brave fellow, and he had the riot gear. He could have fought his way free, but he saves her.
Yeah, he was well on his way of getting out of there because he spotted her.
He knows what she must feel like. He understands that. Glenn has nothing but empathy.
Right.
So, anyway, we should get on. We've talked about this long enough, and nobody's watching The Walking Dead anyway, are they? Do you know it beat the Olympics?
Did it?
Beat the Olympics, the first episode.
But the Olympics will hat by now. Everybody's going, well, when's the next gold coming?
Yeah.
And
unless there's more death on the ice tracks, I'm really not interested.
It's amazing to me that the Netherlands are in third place or something like that. They have 19 medals, and they're all in speed skating. Well, every single one of them is in speed skating.
Well, people don't realize this, but there's a lot of canals in Holland, and they're frozen all year round, and there's no bus system. People have to skate everywhere. Everywhere, all the time. And most businesses, they just have frozen alleys that go right through, and you sit at your desk, and you keep your skates on all day.
It just amazes me that
people don't know that.
You can just raise one team and get 19 medals at the Olympics.
Right.
That's so far.
Right.
They might get more.
Right.
It just blows me away. I mean, be proficient at one thing.
Do they bother to test them for cannabis? I don't know. You'll have to.
Maybe that helps. No. Our snowboarders who are also great cannabis users, they're not doing as well as they should be. So I think there's a balance there. I think there's a balance on speed and not speed.
Yeah, you don't want to take speed. That's bad. So we got another remake to talk about. Actually, we have a few remakes here. I'm going to talk about Oldboy, the 2013 movie, directed by, of all people, Spike Lee.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, is there a black person in the whole movie? Yes, Samuel L. Jackson is in the movie. Not that he only makes movies with black actors, but that's the way I think of Spike Lee. Maybe because that's It's just my problem. But anyway, Spike Lee directed, written by Mark Protosevich, based on the manga. Stars, and I'd say based on the previous movie, too.
Yeah, this is a remake of, what was it, Korean movie?
A Korean movie, yep. Stars Josh Brolin as Joe Doucette, Elizabeth Olsen, who's really a good actress, as Marie Sebastian, Charlton Copley as Adrian the Stranger, also the Stranger. Samuel L. Jackson, as mentioned, is Cheney, and Michael Imperioli is Chucky, another Michael Imperioli being an actor that Spike Lee has used before.
This is an interesting
movie.
Yeah, decent for a remake.
For a remake, yes, an American remake of a foreign movie.
Although they did do a couple things to the movie. It was originally 140 minutes long, and the studio cut it down to 105 minutes. That's quite the chunk. And Brolin thought that Spike Lee's edit was better. Because there was more time to get to know the people. Because I felt that this movie was really rushed.
It was
the storyline was really rushed.
Yeah. And you didn't get the impression that you got from the Korean original of how long that 20 years is that he's spending in confinement.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The ending was kept away from Elizabeth Olsen. She had no idea what the ending was.
She never saw the Korean movie?
No.
Oh.
She was quite shocked when she watched the movie for the first time.
Right.
Which we won't tell you what the ending is.
No.
But
if you've seen the original, there are no big surprises.
No.
Because they stick very close. They can say they're sticking close to the manga. Well, the Korean movie stuck very close to the manga, too, because this is the same. I've never read the manga, but I have seen the
old... We reviewed it last year sometime.
2 months ago, yeah.
And it's basically about a man who is, in this case, an advertisement kind of guy.
Oh, he hates himself.
He abuses himself with alcohol and cigarettes and whatever.
Oh, everything.
Everything.
Drugs.
Pills and drugs.
Yeah. I thought the way he played the guy scraping the bottom of the barrel a lot better than the Korean actor did in the original Oldboy.
Did you?
I did. Well, I mean, there you've got the guy, and he's passing out in the police station and leaning on strangers and making an ass of himself. In the remake, Josh Brolin winds up unconscious, vomiting on himself on the street. That struck me as being just a little further down than a Korean guy who's annoying the police. You know? And he leaves the police station, and he staggers down the street, and he gets nabbed. Josh Brolin is completely out of it, and he just wakes up in jail.
Yeah, well, not jail, in a room.
Yeah, it's a jail. It's a professional, private, for-rent jail.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, whereas
and that's what Samuel Jackson is doing. And that character is not in the Korean movie. Not much, anyway.
Yeah, he's there, but it's not a major part.
That's right. And because it's Samuel L. Jackson, of course, he gets several juicy scenes.
Remember I mentioned the fight scene before? That long fight scene going down the corridor.
Oh, yes. In
the original. Well, they did it in this one as well.
Of course.
Except for it was so much longer.
And they cut it into 2 parts.
I read here that the hallway fight was done in 1 take, but edited down. Mm-hmm. So... And you can see it's all choreographed.
Oh, very.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. And people are getting hit with these big, long pieces of 2x4s and baseball bats. And, they're getting up again.
Yeah, well, especially Josh Brolin's character. What I found absolutely silly is that being in a cell for 20 years, what is essentially a crappy little apartment, for 20 years, he goes from being a fat slob to being,
muscle man,
tougher than Bruce Lee.
And where did he learn the martial arts?
That's it. Yeah,
off the TV.
In the original movie, they show him doing a lot more of the shadow boxing and the working out, whereas in this one, it's more implied. Suddenly goes from sort of jumping up and down to punching holes in the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A number of different actors were considered for the major role that Josh Brolin got.
Right.
Christian Bale was one of them. Colin Firth. Will Smith.
Colin Firth.
Daniel Craig. And Clive Owen.
Right.
They were all considered, but they actually asked these guys and they turned it down. Now, at one point, Steven Spielberg was attached to the movie with Will Smith.
Right.
And then it all got changed when Spike Lee got it.
all his...
I can't imagine Spielberg doing this.
Yeah. All right, overall, I'd say it's good. Now, if you've seen the Korean version and liked it, then you'll probably like this one. They both have their good points.
Yeah, my only concern was it was a lot shorter and there wasn't as much character development, and that was because the studio edited it down. Right.
I also want to mention that behind the scenes, there are a lot of villains in this movie, but the big villain, Adrian, is played by Charlton Copley, who people might remember. I can only think of 2 other movies that he's in, but one of them is District 9, and he appears to be such a skinny, weedy, short little pencil pusher, and he's terrific in that. He gets turned into an alien. Then he's also in that Matt Damon movie of Elysium. Yeah.
Same director.
He plays the villain in that. That's right, same director for those 2 movies. So Charlton can manage to go from looking like a little weedy man that you would swear is no taller than 5'8" to being this monster in Elysium who looks to be about 6'2" and 300 pounds. And then in this movie,
he's lean.
He's tall.
I didn't even recognize him.
Very elegant.
I did not recognize him at all. He has this beard.
And his accent, he's one of those actors who can change his accent when he wants to. Very good actor. I would say he's my current favorite male actor. And what's her name? Sharni Vinson. From, we'll be talking about her new movie shortly, but she was the heroine in You're Next. Both terrific actors, neither of them American, but able to put on good American accents when called for.
Yeah. A little bit of synopsis about this movie, other than the fact that this guy gets jailed up for 20 years.
Right.
All of a sudden he gets set loose. Right. He wants to find his daughter.
Right.
And he wants to become a good father. Right. He meets up with this guy who did this to him.
Right.
And the guy says, well, I'm going to give you a bunch of money. Your whole life will be just perfect if you can answer these 2 questions.
Right.
1, who am I? 2, why did I put you in jail for 20 years?
Right.
And that's what the rest of the movie is about. It's him trying to track that down.
Yeah, it's a little bit of mystery story to it.
I thought there would be a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah.
That, because he kind of figures it out really quick.
Well, dare I point out again, this is based on a comic book.
No, but the original again took its time to tell the story.
Oh, the original movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. No, I know. It did feel a little rushed. I'd still recommend it, though. I thought it was good. And, there's just so many people won't bother watching a foreign movie if it's got subtitles and stuff like that. So this is it's obviously a bit of a money grab.
I hope that Spike Lee gets to put out his original 140-minute thing in a special version.
Yeah.
Because I think probably you would appreciate it a little more.
Right, yeah. Yeah, oh, well, I'm recommending it anyway. Another remake, 2014 movie made for TV, Flowers in the Attic, based on the V.C. Andrews novel. Now, there was a version made in the 70s.
1987.
Was it that late?
Yep, starring Louise Fletcher as the grandmother.
Right.
Now, you can see that would be a great vehicle for her.
Oh, it's a horrible movie.
Because she played Nurse Ratched in One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't know that this was a remake, and I was really surprised that you actually recommended a TV movie.
Yeah. The original movie and the novel are fairly cultish, dealing, as they do, with incest as a horror subject. So this movie, 2014 version of Flowers in the Attic, directed by Deborah Chow, written by Kayla Alpert, based on the novel. It's rare that people acknowledge that there was a movie before their version.
Yeah.
It stars Heather Graham, the always lovely Heather Graham, as Corinne Dollenganger, Ellen Burstyn as her mother, Olivia, Kiernan Shipka as Kathy. She's sort of the main character. She's the oldest daughter of the 4 children. Mason Dye as Christopher, Ava Telek as Carrie, Maxwell Kovac as Corey, and Chad Willett as their father, Christopher Sr. All the people in the Dollenganger family all have names that start with C. I'm not sure if that means anything, but it's awfully darn cute when they all be lined up with their C T-shirts on. So kind of an unpleasant story, not giving too much away because it's explained in the first 10 minutes of the movie that the daughter, that is the Heather Graham character, was disavowed by her father. By her father and her mother because she insisted on marrying her
half-uncle.
And I don't know how you have a half-uncle, but yeah, anyway, she and her uncle got hitched and had a whole slew of babies.
A half-uncle would be your dad's half-brother?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. In any case, it's incest and kind of sleazy. Anyway, so yeah, there you go. And it's just one thing after the other. And we find out that Heather Graham is just not the best mom in the world.
No, the father was a saint. He was so good.
The children's father, not Heather Graham's dad. Yes.
Yeah. He treated the kids so wonderfully, but he traveled a lot for his business. He was a salesperson. And he was always on the road. He'd always bring them back presents. And when he was in town, he spent all of his times with his kids.
Yeah.
And he passes on.
Yeah. Well, he gets killed in a car accident.
So the mother can't make ends meet because they didn't plan ahead for their...
But she's also useless. That's the point, I think, being made. She's so pretty. And
she admits that.
Her uncle fell in love with her. And the two of them made this life together against everybody's wishes. But she's useless. All she's done is produce babies and
pretty.
Lived this phony, perfect suburban life.
Yes.
And
great
now,
at parties.
Now, okay, she's in trouble. So what does she do? She goes running home to mom and dad, knowing full well that it's bad enough what she did with her dad's brother. But now she's bringing 4 monsters in tow. And these kids are perfect. Absolutely the most beautiful 4 blonde kids in the world. Mm-hmm. And they're all bright. They're all smart. There's none of them are dribbling idiots or anything like that.
And they have to hide the kids from the father.
Yeah, they hide the children in the attic, hence the flowers in the attic. But the thing that gets me is that these hints throughout the movie that the main reason that Heather Graham's character's dad was so upset with her wasn't that she got involved in incest with his brother, but that she stopped having incest with him.
Now, I didn't get that.
Well, she stripped naked and whipped at one point in front of the old man, so, it's all getting a little kinky. Come on. I get the idea. The old man is very old and very sick at this point.
But, yes, and he adorns her with gifts.
Yeah.
Jewelry and money and yes, be my little princess again.
I hadn't read the book and I hadn't seen the original version of the movie, so I kept hoping for a big reveal, like the Heather Graham's character's mother and father were brother and sister, something like that. I kept expecting, how much incest can there be in one family? But unfortunately, no, they just sort of...
Most of the story is told from the daughters, Kathy's point of view, and in the attic. They're in the attic, and their survival for, I guess, 2.5, 3 years, something like that, 4 years.
It's years,
Yeah. The grandmother supplies all the food.
Yes.
She comes up and she's one wicked woman.
Oh, she's mean.
If she feels that she is you've done something wrong or sinful.
Right.
She would punish you.
Yeah.
And like giving you the strap.
Yeah.
If you didn't want to partake in it, then she would take your food away.
Yeah.
Or something that would make you miserable.
Yeah.
Or torch the younger kids, because there's 2 little kids and two older kids.
Yeah.
So just a wonderful, wonderful family. What it is the kids are waiting for their grandfather to die so that they will inherit the estate, which is, in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Living in a palace.
The place they're living in is quite huge, so that's why they can survive in the attic without anyone knowing. Not even the maids and anybody knew that they were up there.
Only in a horror movie would this be possible.
Yeah, they're sitting there at the windows looking out at the backyard and lounging about on the roof.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to notice them.
And nobody's noticing the grandmother bringing down stinking buckets of filth every morning. And, give me a break. The The house would stink if you're crapping into a bucket every day. 4 kids crapping into a bucket.
They don't go into that detail.
No, the bucket is mentioned at one point because, that's the situation. Anyway, it was all right. I didn't think it was very good, and there was a reason I never bothered to read the original novel. It just sounded like a potboiler piece of nastiness to me. I got better things to do than...
I wonder what the original was like, the original movie, should I say.
I watched half of it the other day, and it seemed pretty much the same.
So did it warrant a remake is the question.
I don't know. This was remade for Specialty Channel out of the U.S.
Well, the question is, did they make it better? I mean, it was still a period piece.
Yeah.
It wasn't a modern...
I wasn't seeing a lot, in the first half of the old version, I didn't see a lot of changes. Better looking mom. Yeah. Heather Graham.
Okay.
I watch Heather Graham in anything.
At the end of this movie, I just felt unsatisfied by it.
No.
It was just...
I think if the whole thing could have been sort of condensed into months rather than years and given a better sense of that. But the mum is slowly supposed to be changing, and her true greedy, self-centered nature is supposed to be revealed. But I think that could have happened in months.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea that, the 2 older ones are teenagers. 4 years, they ought to be like, the guy ought to be shaving and, looking for a job.
Yeah.
But instead they're, doing their lessons in the attic and moaning because all they've got is a little black and white TV.
And the younger kids obviously didn't age, the amount of appropriate time. They would have grown quite drastically.
No, it was
a little harder
silly
to do. They could have had other actors play older kids.
Yeah.
But to me, it was not a great movie in that there was no really good, satisfying ending to it.
Okay, we got a fun movie now, and this is based on a book I have read. I've read most of Irvin Welsh's books, novels, short stories, even a play. It's a movie from 2013 called Filth. Now, it's about a bent cop, a crooked cop, and in England, filth can mean several things, including fuzz.
Oh.
Yeah, the pigs, fuzz, filth. That's another name
for the police. Which is themes that go throughout this whole movie.
Oh, it's just awful. Now, when I heard that they were going to film this, I had no idea how they would film it because every now and then in the book, it's a big, thick book, every now and then you turn the page and the tapeworm that lives inside the main character's gut takes over the narrative, and just suddenly the tapeworm's thoughts are printed right over top of the main character's thoughts underneath. So you just have like these tapeworm thoughts which consist of yum, gluey pie, yum, feed me, so good, so good.
I didn't realize he had a tapeworm.
He did. Do you remember?
There was the drawing on the painting.
In the doctor's office, the sort of fantasy sequences with the doctor, played by the always fun Jim Broadbent. The main character, played by James McAvoy, plays a detective named Bruce Robertson, who's such a drug addict, and he's wildly unhappy because his wife and child have left him, and he's he's having a nervous breakdown. He's having a psychotic reaction to the constant influx of drugs that he's taking, and booze, and eating crap. And in the book, the idea is that he eats so badly and he's got worms.
Yeah.
And that's also affecting him. And the worm inside, this huge tapeworm inside his gut is actually sort of like
which is why he's so thin, because he can't gain weight.
No, he's a big fat pig in the book.
Is he?
Oh, yeah. Much more so than James McAvoy is as an actor.
Turns out that James McAvoy can vomit at will. And that his vomiting was real in the movie.
I thought it might be, I was thinking, did they use Ipecac syrup, maybe? Because you'd have to be a pretty dedicated
that's
actor.
Method acting, boy.
It's tough on your teeth if you're vomiting 10 takes in a row. Okay, feed him another pie. We got to get another vomit scene.
This was a real weird movie to me.
Having read the book, I knew some of what was going to happen. What did you think?
I just thought it was a good movie on watching somebody go into madness.
Right.
He has this plan to become the inspector, policeman, lieutenant.
Next step up.
The next step up, the position is available, and he's sized up all the other people.
There's like 5 of the candidates,
office.
and he's got sort of a betting
odds on who can get the position.
Yeah.
So what he's trying to do is
ruin everybody.
Ruin everybody in the department, and by
humiliate them and
spreading rumors, just about anything he can think. Framing them.
Oh, he is evil. He is absolutely. And yet at the same time, while we know that he's an evil swine, that he really is filth in every sense of the word, at the same time, when he's walking down the street and some woman starts screaming because her husband is just keeled over from a heart attack, he can't help himself but run across the street and try to save the man's life.
Yeah.
Because at some level, he's still that good man who wanted to be a cop to help people.
Right.
Although by this time, approaching middle age, he's all about himself.
Yeah,
he's unbelievably selfish otherwise.
Yes, and definitely going mad.
But guilt does still, and he isn't so far gone that he doesn't feel guilt. It tears him up.
Yes, it does, especially when his accountant...
Oh, his little friend. Yeah, love him. Bladesy, played by Eddie Marsan. Wonderful cast in this.
He doesn't even realize that the guy is his best friend until the end of the show.
Yes.
And then he figures it out.
Yeah.
He sobers up a little bit at the end, just enough to realize what he's done to the only person in the world that really likes him.
Yeah, the one man, the one friend.
Nobody else likes him. A lot of sympathy. There are people that are trying to help him.
But he refuses help. He gets angry and lashes out at anyone who tries to help him.
Yeah.
As many of us do. Yeah.
And the flashing of the animal masks on different people.
Yes.
You'll see pigs on some, sheep on others, elephants on others. Very quick, bang, and it's brutal because it scares the hell out of them.
Yes, Well, he is. He's got DTs. He's hallucinating. He's so coked up and speeded up and drunk and it's just one thing piled on another.
This movie is
wild ride.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a very wild ride. I wouldn't recommend it for a lot of people who don't like those kind of movies because it does go all over the place.
Yeah, it does. And strictly speaking, it's not really a horror movie, but hey, if a man is going insane, I figure that qualifies. That's close enough. It'd be a good bill with The Shining, Taxi Driver.
Sure.
Roman Polanski's movie, The Tenant, or Delirious.
No,
not Delirious. What's the movie with that Roman Polanski did with Repulsion? All movies about people going crazy.
Yeah, this is just one more on that stack of books.
Yeah. He's already half mad when we meet him, and it's just that half step down into complete and utter pointlessness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you liked it.
Who said I liked it?
My dad and I exchanged books back and forth since I was about 11 years old. I'd read a novel, he'd read a novel, books of short stories, whatever, and we'd recommend it and lend it to the other. And I lent him my copy of Filth after I read it, and I enjoyed it, dark as it is. He started reading it, and he said, no, it's too much. I can't read it.
Yeah.
He was approaching 80 years old, and he just decided, no, why put himself...
So this isn't an old book.
Well, Irvin Welsh probably made his name, certainly became well known after the movie Trainspotting came out.
Oh, okay.
So he's the guy who wrote...
That gives the same feel,
Oh, yeah, very much.
Very dark.
Scottish.
Sick humor.
Yeah.
Just sick
very
humor.
Very Scottish, very dark humor, yeah. But there is humor.
Yeah.
He's good at mixing humor and
But sick humor.
Oh, yeah.
It's not your happy-go-lucky humor.
Oh, I could tell you some stories of just stuff I've read from him that would curl your toes. He's probably my favorite British writer. Yeah.
I couldn't figure out where you got this film from. That's
I've been waiting to see it. So I just want to mention here, it was written and directed by John S. Baird. It stars James McAvoy as Bruce Robertson, Imogen Poots as Amanda Drummond, Jamie Bell as Ray Lennox, Joanne Froggatt as Mary, Shirley Henderson as the peculiar Bunty, who is married to Eddie Marsan's character, Bladesy, Jim Broadbent, who plays a sort of a fantasy doctor.
Yeah, I like his forehead.
Yes, he is the tapeworm.
Yeah.
Like, there's a huge, colorful poster about tapeworms in the background in this sort of dreamlike office where the main character goes to visit this doctor. But the doctor's forehead, looks like a big tapeworm head. Yeah. And David Soul from Starsky and Hutch, for some reason, makes a very brief appearance as a punter.
What's a punter?
It's a gambler. It's a guy, but it's a bad gambler, a guy to be taken advantage of.
Right.
But I just think it's funny. He must have just been in England at the time they were shooting her.
There's a new show called Rake on.
Yeah.
And this James McAvoy character reminds me of this guy because he plays a lawyer who is just bent. He's got gambling debts. He's got hookers all over the place, ex-wives.
Right.
And he defends the most vile people.
Right. What's it called?
It's called Rake.
Rake.
It's actually a remake of an Australian series.
Right.
But they've Americanized it.
Right.
And every episode it's him defending some other weird guy, but also his weird life.
Right.
It's like he's into drugs, he's into everything you can think of, and he's just the most despicable character in the world. And that's what this guy reminded me of him quite a bit.
Well, let's talk really briefly. We're going to wrap this show up in a moment, but let's just talk really briefly about the movie Captain Phillips, which is up for a bunch of Oscars this year. Directed by Paul Greengrass, written by Billy Ray, based on the semi-autobiographical book by Captain Richard Phillips and Stephen Talty. Stars Tom Hanks as Captain Richard Phillips, Barkhad Abdi as the chief pirate, Muse, Catherine Keener is Hanks's wife. Chris Mulkey is sort of first mate. He's one of the ship's crew anyway. And the only actor whose name I recognized on IMDb. So what did you think of it? It's about a commercial ship.
Container ship.
Container ship. And they have to travel through the Strait of Hormuz or whatever the hell it's called there, but a Horn of Africa, right off Somalia. And they get boarded by 4 Somali pirates.
I'm amazed that they don't have people with guns on these ships.
There's a reason that they don't. It's some rule that they cannot. They're allowed to use water cannons and they're allowed to, knock ladders off the side and stuff. But if the pirates have submachine guns, what the hell are you going to do? You have to stand back and just let them on board your ship.
Planes, they're allowed to have these marshals, sky marshals.
Right.
Why can't they have water marshals?
I know.
It wouldn't cost them that much for the pain.
Think the insurance companies would pay to have a security force on these big
at least
ships.
1 or 2 guys with that can shoot.
Yeah, it's very odd.
Because they could have picked these guys off
of course.
Real easy.
Of course.
In their boat.
Yeah, you warn them. Yeah, why couldn't there be something akin to a Coast Guard officer with a bazooka and you warn the little ship to stay away from you and then you just blast it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's very odd. I don't understand it, but there wouldn't be a movie if they couldn't do this.
I was surprised because I watched this movie yesterday and I was surprised how non-sensationalized it was.
Right.
There was some moments of tension.
Right.
But most of it was pretty downplayed.
Yeah.
And especially the Tom Hanks character, he was making mistakes left, right, and center and doing odd things.
Yeah.
Like writing a farewell note to his wife, even though they warned him they would kill him if he did anything.
Right. And his not-so-subtle codes to the Navy SEALs who are right on their tail.
I'm in this seat,
So I'm right there in seat 15, that's where I'll be. See you later.
And then they're telling him back, go back to your seat.
Your seat. Make sure you're in your seat. And the pirates, most of them speak at least passable English.
Yeah. And then,
I must say that the actor who played the leader of the pirates, Barkhad Abdi, I think he might be up for an Oscar, too, Best Supporting Actor, I think. He's terrific, and he's so skinny, and he's got these giant yellow teeth that stick almost straight out of his mouth.
I wonder if those were his real teeth.
He looks like a grown-up version of every starving African child you see for relief programs, charity programs.
Yeah.
You can believe that this guy is so desperate that even though he seems to be a decent human being, he doesn't want to murder anybody. but he is so desperate.
During the filming, Tom Hanks didn't meet any of the Somalian pirates until they came onto the bridge.
Oh, is that right?
Never met them beforehand, never talked to them.
He wanted to keep a certain distance.
Yeah, the director wanted to keep them apart.
Yeah.
Also, that last scene when he's in the medic,
right?
That was all done ad-lib.
Really?
And that was a real Navy medical person.
Sick bay.
And they just told her, do what you would do in this instance.
Yeah, because she's businesslike, trying to give him treatment, just check him, basically, to see if anything's broken or if he's been cut or shot. And so she's a little clinical, but hey, she's a military doctor. She's going to be clinical because if this was a war situation, she'd have 50 other guys waiting for her to look at, too. Mm-hmm. So she does come across rather coldly, and, of course, the Tom Hanks character is in shock at this point, and he just starts breaking down. There's a lot of crying, and very, very believable. I can't fault this movie for any of the acting. I thought it was very well done. And, it was downplayed. They could have made it much more sensationalistic.
And the military in general, it wasn't, gung-ho American kind of thing that you would see in Independence Day or something like that. It was very matter of fact, and they were not going to let this boat get away.
No.
It's not going to get to land no matter what.
Even if we have to kill the captain.
And the captain, Phillips, knows this.
Yeah.
He knows it. Yeah. Who am I?
Yeah.
They're not going to give you $10 million for me.
No.
You know?
They wouldn't give $20 for him.
Yeah.
Well, $20 maybe.
I thought it was very realistic.
Right. I have, after seeing the movie, I was checking online, and I have read a couple of articles that say that the book and the movie really paint a glowing picture of Captain Phillips, when in fact a lot of his crew say that no, he was a miserable tin horn little god on board his ship. He was not liked, and he was not brave, and he didn't sacrifice himself for his crew, and so on and so on. I don't know if that's true. Maybe they're just jealous that he got the book and movie deal and they didn't. But in any case, like all these movies, it's somewhat fictionalized. Time is compressed, events are turned around. But I thought just as an adventure movie, and there's a certain amount of horror, of course, any hostage situation. It's interesting that it all comes down to just one man. Mm-hmm. They are off that ship fairly quickly when they realize that they just aren't going to get any satisfaction on board the ship, so they get the hell off on the lifeboat. All
under the suggestion of Captain Phillips.
Yeah.
I thought the way it started with the Somalians being told by these drug lords or whatever, get out there.
Yeah.
You got to bring home a big ship.
Those pirates are working for even more bad guys.
Yeah, and they're not making the big bucks.
No.
They're just the middleman kind of thing, and that have to go and do the work.
And they have to go and act as pirates because back home their families are being threatened by the overlord. Terrible situation.
These people were fishermen, and all the fish are gone because they're being overfished by all the mega fishing companies.
International corporations are sucking the fish out.
So they have nothing to do.
I know.
And no money.
It is. It's a
no livelihood,
situation.
So therefore they're going to go out and try to...
Now, I don't know the exact situation today, but from what I understand when this movie is set, there was no federal government in Somalia. It's just a free-for-all lawless country. Yeah. Okay, well, we got to wrap this show up. So, Walking Dead, I think it's safe to say that Mark and I are enjoying the first 2 episodes, and we'll report back after we've seen a few more. You're enjoying the series?
Yep.
Okay. Oldboy, would you recommend or not?
I would say see the original.
Okay.
If you can handle subtitles, I think the original's better. But it's not a bad remake. It's not a bad remake.
Okay.
I just think the original is better timed, and it gives you a better understanding of the characters.
I agree. I'm not sure I would have understood the remake as well if I didn't already know the story. I would say that this is, to me, one of Spike Lee's better movies. I enjoyed this beginning to end much more than I've enjoyed a lot of Spike's movies, which I find a little on the slow and self-indulgent side.
Now, this one definitely goes quick.
Yeah, it does. And and give it a year, I'd watch the director's cut. The remake of Flowers in the Attic is all right. If you've seen the original, I wouldn't bother with this one.
Yeah, I just thought the ending was too weak.
Tacked on, yeah.
Yeah.
Filth, I highly recommend it. Best movie that we're talking about this episode.
It's the best weird movie that I've seen in a long time. These type of movies I don't seek out.
Right.
This whole thing
That's
of going into madness and
Right.
things like that. And these are despicable people doing despicable things.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to watch.
Right.
It's not something that I would go and watch a whole bunch of times.
Right, right.
I'm glad I saw it, but I won't watch it again.
Yeah, I hear you. Captain Phillips is all right. I quite enjoyed it for a big Hollywood-type blockbuster. It moved
I don't
along
even
pretty
consider it a
quickly.
big blockbuster. I mean, I was surprised that it wasn't as blockbustery as it could have been.
Right, right.
And I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was well done, very well acted.
All right, so on that